This project was very eye-opening for me. I never realized how hard it really was to be an African American woman in our society today, and I plan on explaining why it was so eye-opening throughout my Got Privilege video. So here we go. I was able to find most of the items on the list. However, I'm not sure if I got the right stockings because I could only find sheer. They didn't have anything else that matched African American skin tones. The one thing I couldn't find at all was bandages that matched an African American skin tone. Upon further investigation online, I learned that the Band-Aids brand does not make a skin match Band-Aid, but two other companies do. And when I looked into the other companies, it seemed like they only sold their products online, which was unfortunate because not all people have access to the internet, so people of color were unable to use these Band-Aids that match their skin tone. The only ones I were able to find were like the ones that are invisible, which isn't really fair because they still have the like white mark on it. But in regards to the other items, I was able to find them, but it really took me a long time. It was not as easy as finding products that I regularly look for myself. I went into 4 total stores. This was Target in Ocean, Barnes & Noble in Eatontown, CVS in Staten Island, and Hallmark in the Staten Island Mall. And these are all stores that I would regularly shop at. So in regards to the prices of the items, the African American romance novel seemed cheaper than the other white books. It was only $7.99. The Hallmark card was cheaper than most other Hallmark cards I had looked at. The Ebony issue was comparable to other magazines. It was $4.99. The doll was actually more expensive than the white doll, even though Monster High dolls varied in price. I was surprised to see that the African American doll was more expensive by a few dollars. The book Grace for President was $10.91, but Duck for President was $14.37, which I found very strange. Tights, the legs for pack was $14.99, and Hanes silk pack was $10.99. The hair products, Curls Unleashed was $9.47. Curly hair mousse that I use on a regular basis is $4.50, and the makeup, the concealer was by Maybelline, and it was $6.99 for all products, no matter the color. So some were comparable, but others were either less expensive, which I thought was really weird, or more expensive, which I kind of expected. But in regards to the less expensive, I can't figure out why it would be. I don't know if these products are cheaper, which is wrong of the companies. It was much harder for me to find different options for an African American woman compared to a white woman. Makeup was the easiest because companies like L'Oreal and Maybelline had products for different skin colors, but it was much harder for a lot of the hair products, especially in Target. I only found a few. There really was not much of selection for any store I went to, which did really surprise me. Most of the items were located on lower shelves. The magazine was found on the lower shelf, and there was barely any other African American magazines. The romance novel was also on a lower shelf. The Hallmark card was mixed in with all the other happy birthday cards, but there was no other African American people on it. The doll was next to the other Monster High dolls and was in the center, so that was good. The children's book was located on a lower shelf and harder to find. The tights were all mixed in with one another. The hair products, there were places that had hair products in my CVS, but there was only 2 tiny shelves. In regards to concealer, there were very few different kinds of concealers for all skin colors, but they were mixed in with the other makeup. In Target, Barnes & Noble, and CVS, there were black salespeople around, but there was not any in Hallmark. In Target, Barnes & Noble, there were other black women around, but there were none in CVS and Hallmark. And in Target, the manager was a white male. In Barnes & Noble, it was a white woman. In CVS, it was another white male. And in Hallmark, there was a white woman. So there really was no sort of African Americans in a higher position in these stores that I went to. In regards to going to the hair salon that caters to African American hair, this was really tough for me because I just couldn't find one. I was in Staten Island one weekend and drove around looking for one, but couldn't. I wanted to find one on my own, but I had to ask one of my friends from high school where she went to get her hair done. She told me there aren't many places on the island. She usually just goes to Brooklyn, but she took me to a place that she likes. It's really heartbreaking to me that an African American girl can barely find places to get their hair done where they live, and instead have to travel outside of the borough when I can find a place to get my hair done basically on every corner. Overall, I don't feel very good about myself as a black woman. It seems like society doesn't really care about me. Sure, there are products out there for me, but they are either really low on the shelves in the back or just not in the store at all. Instead, you have to buy them online. I also feel really uncomfortable with the fact that at all the stores I went to, there was no African American manager. To me, this would make me uneasy to talk to the manager and complain about something because they might not care about me like they would about another white person. And I honestly just feel kind of sad about my skin color, which really isn't fair because white women are able to live in a world where they can constantly celebrate their skin color, so why can't I? feel like I have learned a lot about my privilege. It's one thing to say that I understand what white privilege is, but it's another thing completely to actually see it full force when shopping at my regular stores. I constantly go to Target. It's one of my favorite stores. I had always thought that Target was for everyone. However, after doing this assignment, I can see that I was really wrong. Target definitely caters to their white shoppers more than any of the people of color. Sure, there are items for people of color, but they aren't as plentiful or as prominent at all compared to the white products. It's also surprised me that there's such a lack of African American hairstylists on Staten Island. Why is it so easy to find places to get white people's hair done, but so hard to find it for people of color? It honestly makes me even more sad about my privilege. I got this privilege solely because my parents were white. This is something that I know is not fair to other races. Projects like this make me want to advocate further for people of color so they do not have to feel bad about themselves or their skin color when shopping at a retail location or when getting their hair done.